Are you about to run a game and want to do a session 0 but aren't sure how to start? First off, let me get something out of the way. A lot of my older players in my public games don't like this. If you're GMing for someone who doesn't, call it something different. You can call it a pre-campaign meeting. You can call it a pre-game planning session. Whatever it takes. Because I don't think fundamentally that anyone disagrees with the concept of making sure that everyone's on the same page. That everyone's expectations are similar as far as the game goes. As far as themes, content, general play, house rules, etc. are concerned. If I'm running a comedic game and you wanted something really dark and gritty, I'm glad we had this meeting so I don't waste your time. If I'm running fast and loose with the grittier details, and you want survival with very careful planning of resources, I'm glad we had this meeting so I didn't waste your time. Now that we've got that out of the way, here's my checklist. You don't have to do everything, you might even add more, but these are the elements I try to hit every time. 1. Safety tools. This is another one of those terms that some people have a problem with. Just call it boundaries, content expectations. At its core, there are certain things that I will never touch when it comes to my players in games, whether it's my own boundaries or my players' boundaries. I have ex-military members who have PTSD with loud sounds. I have little kids who are little kids. In the games I run, I make sure that the content is in line with their expectations, and in the case of the kids, their parents' expectations, so I don't cross a line and create a problem. The standard safety tools I use are the Consent in Gaming checklist and the X card and checking in. The Consent in Gaming checklist is simply a list of topics, possible issues that people might not want to see. For example, people can say that they don't want descriptions of intercourse in game. Maybe they're okay with a fade to black, or maybe they'd prefer that it not be alluded to at all. The X card is simply an ability for the players, any of them, to flash an X, whether with their arms, with a physical index card, or just in a DM if it's an online game. When someone flashes it, it means that we're heading into uncomfortable territory. Whether it's something mentioned in the checklist or not, and it just happens to be a trigger that perhaps someone didn't anticipate. Regardless, I pause the action and give us a break. I check in with the player so we can figure out a way to veer off and away from whatever happened. As far as application goes, I send the Consent in Gaming checklist to every player before the first session, and make sure to explain how it and the X card work. Checking in just happens whenever we have an X, or whenever we hit a particularly intense moment, like a sudden PvP experience, and we gotta make sure everyone's okay. 2. The game themes and expectations. Here's where we talk about the core elements of the game. If it's a horror game, a comedy game, an epic adventure, or heart-wrenching tragedy. Whether we're cool with cracking jokes all the time, or if we want something very gritty and dark and serious. And how long is the game gonna be? If we're gonna meet weekly for an hour each time, or if we're gonna do an entire weekend once a month. And then, how long we're gonna play in general. Whether it's gonna be a one-shot, 6 to 8 sessions, or do we go until we're done? How familiar should everyone be expected to be with the rules? I have groups that are more chill, and so I'm more inclined to be ready to explain how something works to them. While I have other groups that are super focused on tactical combats, and they might not have the same patience for questions. We gotta be on the same page. If there's a stark contrast as far as expectations go, then we know someone's not gonna have fun. 3. The game itself. Presumably when you got the group together, we've already talked about what game system it'll be, but we can dive deeper as far as the hook of the game, the premise, the setting, and even character creation. Do you plan to roll for stats, or are we doing point buy? And of course, house rules. What items you're gonna start with. Is homebrew stuff allowed? How are crits handled? From here, the world is your oyster. If the players are game, then by all means start talking about characters and whatnot. Once I've cleared those 3 elements, I start going to specifics of the game itself. If anyone needs any extra clarification on rules, what people need for the game, if it's specific dice or other materials like index cards, stuff like that. But I hope that helps as a quick and easy way to do your session 0 or pre-game session. I hope that helps. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. If this was helpful for you, please leave a like, subscribe. It really helps me a lot. But until next time, wherever you are, whenever it happens to be, I hope y'all have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening.